Hi, I'm Olivia. You're watching the Olivia G Show, and today we're going to be joined by Lisette, talking all about money mindset. She's in the business of empowering people, so I am super thrilled to hear what she's going to tell us. I'm going to share what I've learned throughout this process. So as we're connecting with her, I want to just share that money affirmations have completely changed the game for me. So if you want to copy at all of what the system I've been doing, let me know and I'll get that to you.
Hi.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm excellent. How are you, Lisette?
Good. Thank you so much for bringing me on. And by the way, Milo, my dog, loves to be on camera. So when he sees happening, he might show up.
No problem. I'm a dog lover, so yeah.
Yay.
Okay, let's get to it. I want to honor your time. I want to honor everyone else's time. I know you left your 9 to 5. I want to start off with, what kind of mindset shift did you have to make in order to do that?
Yeah.
Holy cow, like so many people want to pursue their side hustles and take the action you've taken. And I admire you for doing that. So I just want to hear a little more about that.
Yeah. So of course it's a series of mindset shifts, but I would say one of the biggest ones for leaving my 9 to 5 was this idea that 9 to 5s provide financial stability. And what I mean is I totally debunked that for myself, because at the end of the day, and we're seeing that now through COVID, unfortunately, a 9 to 5 could fire you. So there is no financial stability that one entity can provide for you. It's always providing it for yourself. So I worked through that mindset, but I also did an action where I had already been making money with my side business and kind of combining all of that. So my paycheck from the 9 to 5 and this, I would put it all in a high yield savings account, which I can talk about, but I did that so it can just, create interest. And I would actually pay myself every 2 weeks, no matter what. So even while working on a 9 to 5, all the money that I made, I always put in there, and I paid myself on my own schedule every 2 weeks. And hi, Milo. And that kind of trained me into realizing that I'm the only one who can provide financial stability for myself. And if my finances are run the way that it works for my lifestyle, then I can do that. I can be on my own. So that was one of the biggest little things I did.
Wow. I love that. So you were kind of doing some positive money habits.
Yes.
So paying yourself first would be one. What I do is I always make sure to keep my money organized in my wallet. I know they're just like subtle little things.
But they work.
They work because it's like money is an energy and you have to respect it, right?
Yeah.
I know some people have 3 envelopes, one for, I don't know, let's say their rent or their mortgage, one for spending and one for something else. So you just have to figure out what kind of works for you. Yeah. And I love that you started to pay yourself first because you got into that habit and then you were able to make that shift.
Exactly. And it just reminded me that I was the owner of my financial story and not, oh, but if I stay here, I have that regular paycheck. Why not give myself a regular paycheck? And it really helped.
That's so crazy because, yeah, when you think of 9 to 5, you think of security, but at the end of the day, something happens to you, you're replaced in 2 seconds. Yep. Somebody else comes along, you could easily be replaced. And just having that at the back of your head, I think that was a big shift for me a couple years ago too, because I got injured at work and within 60 seconds, a job that I was going to day in and day out replaced me. And I was like, I think that's so crazy. And it also made me realize that people are more comfortable being uncomfortable in a familiar situation. I know that's a lot of words.
Yeah.
I'll break it down for everybody that's just tuning in now. So people are more comfortable going to a job, even if it's not making them happy, because it's familiar.
Yes. Then
transferring over to something that's brand new and could cause discomfort. So we need to kind of, I mean, you're the one that took action. What was the first thing that you started with your mind in your mindset shift to start making that process?
Yeah, well, one thing that I talk about a lot now is this idea of action creates confidence. And kind of to your point, we're really uncomfortable sometimes making these big decisions for our life because we've just never done it before. It's not that we don't know how to do it. I mean, we've been side hustling for many of us. If it's the question of going from full-time hustle to or taking the side hustle full-time, we know what we're doing. It's just new for us and uncomfortable. So the idea of action creating confidence is just making one, no matter how big or small, action every single day toward your business. And then you start to kind of build confidence in yourself that, okay, I can do that. And then through repetition, if it's something that you're going to be doing for your business all the time. So for example, for me, working with clients as a coach, which is the first thing that was new for me to transition full time, it's this idea of like, I just kind of have to get uncomfortable, get on the phone with people and talk to them about their goals and how we can work together and help them out. I always had this imposter syndrome of, ooh, can I really help people? Everyone's so different. And then just get on the phone with them. And then that kind of helped me get more comfortable with that practice. So just really doing actions every day to get you more comfortable into this totally new and unfamiliar space. Another random example is my work, just by way of being my own entrepreneur and a solo business, is I'm doing a lot of the tech work myself. And I used to think I was a really tech forward person, but there's a lot that goes into like, and right now I have an online course and it's just a lot of tech. So I used to overwhelm myself with that. And now I have a separate day for the things I hate. So that for me,
I like that.
Yeah. So for example, Tech Tuesdays, and I kind of make a joke out of it and it makes it much more fun. So on Tuesdays, I'm like, I know today I'm probably going to be working till like 10 p.m. because I'm going to be in front of a website domain host. And yes, you can outsource everything. I'd probably recommend that. But in the beginning, you kind of want to try it once yourself and see, can I actually do this random thing I hate or not? And then content creation is something that I started to lose inspiration for when I was working on my own, because there was, when you have more time, sometimes you're like, now I have no inspiration because there's no one window of time I got to get this done. So Wednesdays ended up becoming my content days. And just by doing those things for myself in my calendar to get kind of like force myself to be uncomfortable, did actually help me.
I love that. I think that really is going to change the game for me now too,
Yeah.
because I have systems in place for like, I guess how I'm going to create everything, but I don't really have it for specific set days. But I really like the concept of saying, maybe not Mondays, because Mondays are hard for people, but like Fridays, let's update our sites. Let's learn something we've been avoiding for a while.
Exactly.
Tune into a money mindset podcast or something. An area you're not comfortable with, or talk to somebody about money if that's something you don't normally do. And just putting yourself in that situation and knowing that there's a day to do it. So I love that. I love that. So what do you think about, like, I keep hearing a quote where it's like, visualize and feel like you already have it. I think we've all heard like something like, to that extent. But then credit card bills come in the mail, rent and mortgages due. So as much as you want to feel like I am wealthy, I am rich, I'm living in an abundant state of mind, like, because I'm doing this myself too. But when those bills start coming in, it's hard to imagine that life of wealth. So what do you think about that quote, and how do you kind of navigate that area?
Yeah, I actually very much agree with that mindset, but I think that's kind of like a destination you have to get to. And a lot of people overwhelm themselves by that being the first mindset shift they make. So they're like, gotta think I'm wealthy, and you haven't worked on all the other stuff in between. So then when you see the credit card bill, you feel a little bit of guilt and shame. So now you're not really thinking you're in an abundance mindset. And it's what I recommend to people. I've talked about this, which is just writing down all your money limiting beliefs. And when we say limiting beliefs, people tend to think, all right, I'm just going to write the negative stuff. But no, like, write everything, because there might be patterns that you're not noticing. For example, the first time I started doing this practice of writing down everything I believed about money, there was this story about how my dad, he actually used to, when he felt like we were not in good terms, he would buy me stuff like the Sims game or something really random, but he would just buy me things. So you might have thought, oh, that's like a fun memory, right? I'm getting stuff. But no, then I actually, when through journaling, realized that I attributed money to like being fake. Like, ugh, he's just being fake and buying me stuff. Spoiler, I love my dad, but that was just kind of like, that's what I'm saying. You only think back to the traumatic and really dark memories because you think that must have messed me up. But just write everything down you possibly could associate with money, and then start to tackle one by one and reevaluate. Is that something I'm comfortable with moving forward into this new stage of my life? Do I need to reprogram something? And don't overwhelm yourself and try to do them all at once. I've been working on this for years. I would say the first thing when I was getting out of credit card debt was this idea that I was raised, my parents are immigrants, so they always just like worked. They told me I had to go to school for a thing and then work on that thing. So they had this idea of you can't make money if you're not just like working in a corporate job or an office job, because that's what they thought. That's like America, right? So then when I first went into the workforce, and another thing for my parents, just like having been immigrants, they were always like catching up with their finances. They were never living in abundance, not at all abundance mindset. So when I started making money post-grad, anytime I had money or extra money, it would just go away. I would buy something random. I had no money. And then I would put myself into debt because I kind of told myself like, must struggle, must live paycheck to paycheck. So all those things, once I started to kind of fix that one mindset about, oh, my parents are the ones who believe you must be living paycheck to paycheck. How can I reprogram that for myself? That helped me get out of credit card debt. So it's always like you're chipping away at all your financial limiting beliefs over time. And yes, like the goal is to tell yourself and live like you're wealthy, but you have to kind of work on all the other in-betweens first.
Yeah, and I love that because once you start even just like doing these affirmations, like I've been doing them every day, there's a famous quote as well where it's like your thoughts become your actions become your habits, and your habits kind of become your lifestyle. So that's why it's important to do that, even if you don't believe it right away when you're saying it.
Exactly. And you just start to find patterns too. Like you don't have to find the money revelation on your first journal, but you just start to see the things that come up for you. And I was talking to someone recently how even 3 years later, I've been doing kind of money mindset stuff for almost now 3 years, but recently I had 2 major breakthroughs. I'm like, you would have thought, because I have no debt, but I still have money limiting beliefs. And it's like, I just did 2 that I was like, that helped me so much. So definitely it's a work in progress. I think, again, just think of that wealth mentality as like the destination, and like, you're going to be there, but don't be easy on yourself if you don't see yourself in that space the first day.
Absolutely. So give yourself grace. And I know that our money mindset, our money beliefs, like our blueprint is created between the ages of 5 and 10. Yes. So that's based on what your parents believed and the authority figures around you. So you need to just think about it. Like, what does your culture say about money? How do you feel in regards to your money and your race, your money and your gender? Like that all comes into play. So I love how you said just to write it all down. I even I got my mom to come over yesterday and I'm like, let's talk about money. What do you think about this? And I was just going back throughout my childhood and trying to remember, like my dad was always working. How do I feel about that now?
Yeah.
My parents were like on a cycle. My mom worked nights, my dad worked days. They're also immigrants, like trying to give us everything we have. And how did that affect me now? So you just need to be aware of that. So the first step is awareness. Realize that you do not need to live in a state of lack, that there is another perspective out there.
Yes.
And I guess my first thing is I would tell people to start with affirmations. I would say put yourself in uncomfortable situations. Yeah. So like if you're uncomfortable with stocks, I don't know, listen to a podcast on stocks. Yeah. Like I'm going to say it first, like I am uncomfortable with stocks. But the more you expose yourself to that, the more, I guess, the fear of whatever that fear is.
And it kind of separates. Exactly. And it's back to the idea of like action creates confidence. Like you just got to do one thing. Listen to a podcast about it. Buy one stock for $10 and just see what happens. What did I just do? So just like creating little actions for you. instead of thinking you have to be an expert in all of this in day one.
And how do you feel about, let's say, the lottery or going to the casino or stocks? What do you think about that?
So I'm not a lottery person or endorser ever. Casinos actually bring me back to like cruise life. Just, I grew up in cruise life. My sister worked for Carnival Cruise Lines my entire childhood and for 20 years. So I think about that a lot, and I think of like family time at casinos. So it's a super random association. But that said, I wouldn't go to a casino alone because I just think about it as like family vacation. But with stocks, I actually do believe that stocks are something that you can learn. It's about learning the patterns. It's about learning what the different types of stocks are. You can't be an expert overnight unless you truly are a trader. But it's something that I recommend everyone understands, because also not just stocks, but investing usually is tied to your retirement. Especially if you plan to leave a job that's providing a 401k for you, you're going to have to learn how to put money in a retirement fund and not let it sit as cash. So you have to put it inside some sort of stock. Of course, there are things you can learn about, like mutual funds, which means I'm just going to toss it in here and they're going to do the thing. Yeah. And when you're in a mutual fund, you have a bunch of stocks. There's so much you can do, but you kind of have to learn the 101. And something I truly believe about all this is that they made it complicated to marginalize women, to marginalize minorities. So it is 100% something that can be learned. They just have complicated terms for easy things. So my advice is listen to more podcasts, start, by recall, remembering what these terminologies are. I really love Alvest as a resource for investing and for stocks and for everything. Now they've been doing a lot of career stuff as well, but Alvest is really big on a female platform. So they're helping women understand investing so that it's not complicated anymore. Just breaking down terminology barriers.
And is that a podcast, Alvest, or is
Alvest? They actually are a retirement, a specific term, but they are a portfolio manager, so financial wealth managers, but they also have a newsletter. So you don't have to be trading with them or being a part of anything with them. Just subscribing to their newsletter, you learn a lot. They have free webinars, they have free workshops. So all of that I've gotten through their newsletter. So it's Alvest, like the magazine.
Oh, that's so wonderful. I've never even heard of them. So
yeah,
look at us getting resources. And have you ever made a bad, I guess, financial investment where you've paid for it financially? I was thinking about that myself too. Like, I'm not a huge risk taker, so.
Well, in terms of, there are two things that came to mind when you say that. A low risk thing, I mean, truthfully, I think my college education was not a great investment because of the way that I invested into it. One of the reasons I even had student loans, I went in and my tuition was 75% paid. So truly, I didn't really need to take out that many student loans. But in Florida, they don't really explain to you that you don't have to take out all your loans. So every semester I was maxing out. I was taking out 5 to 6K every semester. And then not having good money mindset, I was spending it all. It was just liquidated. I could not even tell you what I spent it on. I'm like, I could have bought a house for 30K at the end of this, but I probably went to Forever 21 at the time. So that to me was just not a great investment. And also the industry that I'm in, I don't think it's something you 100% need to go to university for. But that's to say, I'm not saying kids watching at home don't go to university.
Let's clarify that.
Yeah, it's just, I wish if I had gone and invested in university, I'd done something different. Something that like helped me, maybe even like majoring in business, to use that for my life. Because I think, again, my parents were like, if you plan to have this job, my career was in PR, then you must study PR. And that didn't really help me a lot. I would have rather studied like business or even history, just to like know something different, and to commit to something, a different kind of area of study, and then work in whatever I wanted to. So that's the first thing that came to mind. And then the second random one is, I know I would say like 102 for investing. So not really 101, but I do it all myself. I like trading myself, and Shopify. So I'm pretty good at knowing something that might be trending. I'm like, ooh, and that's something with investing. You just have to know culturally, like, what do you think is going to happen? At the beginning, the year, I was like, all right, we know a lot of people are probably going to want to start their online stores. So I ended up investing in Shopify. And there's this thing, and people are waiting for it to hit $500 a stock, which means like, whoa, it's big now. And I had bought Shopify at a cheaper rate through COVID. I was like, oh my God, I can't be investing in stocks right now. Like I'm gonna liquidate some of the ones that I have and have it as cash because COVID. And of course through COVID I was like, but I should probably keep Shopify because everyone's going to start an online store. But in the beginning of COVID, Shopify started to go down, like started to crash a little bit, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll take it out. Of course Shopify went right back up to like triple what I bought it for, and I was like, so with stocks, I learned that don't freak out just because of like one. It's not a day-to-day thing. It's a trend. It's a cultural thing. So I should have followed my gut with that. And thankfully I didn't lose a lot of money, but it cost me financially some profit. So if you're going to get into investing, think about the long haul. I always say, like, if you want to see some returns, like 3 to 5 years is when you probably want to start reevaluating stocks.
That's so interesting. Oh,
yeah.
And it's funny because, yes, I started a Shopify store and everything.
Yeah.
I'm resonating with what you're saying. So for those people who have already gone through their money limiting beliefs, what's something they've recognized what they are? What's the next step?
You have to create some action against all of them. Again, not all at once. But for example, for me, I needed to create action to commit myself to these limiting beliefs. So the first one, if I'm talking about the 9 to 5 providing me that financial stability and reprogramming that limiting belief, I needed to take that action of paying myself every 2 weeks from my own savings account. Another one that I recently worked through is this idea that you can't make money from a passion job. That's something that I learned by way of my mom. Her passion was as an artist, and she used to repaint antique furniture and sell it for fun. But she was like, yeah, this is for fun, okay? Like, you can't make a business out of this. I was like, for sure, I get it. Keep working in corporate America. So that actually is something that affected me being my own entrepreneur. So I was like, can I do this? So one thing I did for that is actually having a token by my desk that reminds me that I'm doing what I love. And then I just tell myself every day, like, it's my mantra. I remind myself that I'm doing what I love. So just like little actions that you can do, no matter how different they are, it has to just work for you to reprogram yourself over time.
I love the Lil token. What is it, if I may ask?
Yeah, so it's actually this, it's a cat statue, and apparently in Chinese, I have no relation to Chinese things, but it means good fortune. So I keep that by my desk, and it just reminds me that I can have good fortune doing what I love, because my desk at home is me working for myself. So it's just a little reminder that I am attracting good fortune, and I am doing that. And the way that I see it coming to life is also like how I price myself in my own work.
Yeah, we're going to touch on pricing. Yeah. But I think what it comes down to are values, because figuring out what your core top values are, because even for me, like looking back when I started on this journey, even though like I had travel up there, family, my career, I didn't necessarily have financial freedom written down. So even though that's what I wanted, if there is a sale at a store and I want something, that value of me, it just kind of overpowered. So in the sense that I link financial freedom to not being tied down.
Okay,
And that's why I would spend money on earrings or whatever it is. I didn't want to limit myself.
Yeah, so, it's kind of like I can do what I want.
So it's just interesting how the mind works in that sense. And that just goes down to back to the blueprint, to how you perceive certain things and see if they line up with your values. So now that I realize that I want financial freedom, I'm going to put it higher on the list. So now when something flashy comes my way, I'm like, yeah, it's nice, but my goal is to retire at 40 or whatever it is. And that will hopefully hold more meaning. Yeah.
And I think you brought up something also about just goal setting, helping with that. So when it's working through financial limiting beliefs, it's knowing your values, and it's also creating goals for yourself, because then you'll act against those goals. For example, I know ideally I would love to buy a house, not in New York City, spoiler. But so I have, and we can talk about my saving strategy, but I have different funds for different goals. And what that helps me do is visualize my milestones. So instead of just having one big old pot of money, I have the emergency fund and that goal, the travel fund and that goal, the house fund and that goal. So when I'm thinking about financial actions, I'm always just remembering those. Like, is it going to keep me aligned to that? Because that's also important to me. To me, financial freedom means the freedom to not let finances rule your decisions. Like, if I'm financially free, I can work wherever I want, because I'm not like, oh, but I need that paycheck. Or I can travel wherever I want because I'm looking at a budget that's easier to manage. And not even just like in lavishness, but in, again, the decision to make a decision that just feels natural to whatever you want to do. So I think about that a lot, making sure that I'm aligned to my goals whenever I'm making any financial decisions.
I love that. It kind of, I guess, goes back to my envelope.
Yes, it's the envelope.
You just put it in your savings. So yeah,
digital envelope.
Yeah, for sure. I have a bunch of questions coming in from people. I don't know if we want to tackle them
Let's
now.
go.
Okay. Okay, here we go. Before I hit those, I wrote some down because I've had people private message me as well. So here we go.
Love it.
We've kind of already talked about money books or podcasts. So somebody's asking if you have any recommendations.
Yes. So I recently read a few that I love. The Latte Factor for young people. So if you're in your 20s, the Latte Factor is a great one. Follows the story of someone in her 20s who like doesn't really understand finances, but for her it's actually a lot of limiting beliefs. And that was something that, while I'm in my late 20s, pushing 30 here, but it still helped me think a lot about retirement and to reprogram a couple things. That same author, David Bach, he wrote Automatic Millionaire, and it's also about retirement. And retirement is something that I never really cared about. I was always saving up for retirement, but the way that he writes these books is helping you reframe the fact that, oh my God, like I will be a millionaire. That's my retirement. So just like things like that, spoiler alert, but I do love those two books, Latte Factor and Automatic Millionaire. The You're a Badass book series has a financial one. And I think that one is amazing, because that one's really great when you're working through financial limiting beliefs and some self-worth. And then the last one I would recommend that's coming to mind, I can totally send you a whole list, is Everything is Figure Outable by Marie Forleo. The reason why I recommend that in the financial side of it is because that book is almost like a workbook about your life, your vision, your goals. And I think that that's important to go hand in hand with money. So I had actually been reading both books at the same time, because hers is, again, more workbooks. So I had to like do some of the work and journaling. And it really did help me to realize like where I want my life to be in relation with my finances.
And since we're just constantly talking about finances, I heard something the other day. Well, there's two things: that your income is a byproduct of your impact, which really moved me.
Yeah.
And another one, that you getting more money is going to amplify who you already are.
Exactly.
So if for some reason you're not getting it, I think some self-care and some self-love needs to be in order.
100%. You realize when you're doing this work and reading all these books, like it always goes back to self-worth. Because if you are in a 9-to-5, are you asking for what you're worth? Are you standing up and saying, I need a raise? Are you giving yourself the self-love to leave a toxic work environment somewhere else? When you are your own entrepreneur, back to pricing, it's self-worth again. So it definitely, you kind of have to do both of those pieces for yourself. Financial limiting beliefs, but then think about, what do you think about yourself? And do you love yourself truly to make the right decisions for yourself?
Yeah, it's pretty deep work.
Yeah.
I'm going to list a few of my books, because I've recently been reading, I think it's called The Value Factor by Dr. John DeMartini or something like that. So that has really like stopped me a few times. Atomic Habits. Ooh, it's a really popular one right now. I was going to say the Jen Sincero, the You Are a Badass. Somebody's writing, imposter syndrome is real and has affected me in my 9 to 5 and my entrepreneur. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
you're not alone. I think like 80% of people are there.
Yeah.
Okay, next question. Someone says, I feel uncomfortable tipping because I'm always trying to save/budget. How do you give when you don't have much?
I will say that give when you don't have much. So that's a scarcity mindset. So recognize that and know that you have to shift that you don't have much. You definitely have more than the people who can't afford to be eating out. So be happy and celebrate that for yourself. But also, and you mentioned that a little bit in the beginning, money is an energy exchange. What you put in is what you're going to get out. Of course, tipping is not something like you're investing in yourself, but it's an energy exchange. And by you tipping and recognizing that person's value, that person who's working in a service industry, you're going to get that energy, that positive gratitude will come back to you. It's almost like karma, but money karma. And it truly is whatever you put into the universe will come back to you. I know it sounds super woo woo. Like I'm not like doing, yeah, but it's super true. And I have seen that happen, for example, in the pandemic. There's a time where a lot of people were being tight with their purses, but you also wanted to give back to a lot of organizations through the Black Lives Matter movement. Like I was donating so much while building a business and being scared that I'm like, ooh, I probably should clutch my pearls because I don't know how my next month is going to be. But by giving back to my community, I felt like I was, empowering my community, and not for any sort of recognition. I didn't talk about how much I donated, but all of that did come back to me in the next month because it was just people believing in me because I wanted to believe and give back to my community.
I love that. So yeah, that's definitely a scarcity mindset, and take all the tips we've been given and thrown out and just move the needle just a little bit every single day. All right, next question. I find it awkward when the bills come at a restaurant and I always end up just going Dutch. How can I become more comfortable? I guess it's kind of similar.
That's an interesting question because I'm like, if you're here, let me know. Is it more about you are scared of going, or you're uncomfortable going Dutch because you don't want the other person? Because I think going Dutch is the easiest way when you're like, oh yeah, let's just split it. Like
maybe it's more in the sense of like, let's say going on a date.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I would say it's just about having a conversation. In full transparency, me and my boyfriend, we've been together for 2.5 years. We pretty much always go Dutch on everything. And it's because we just value each other that way, like in terms of finances. And there are times where I'm like, I got this, and times that he said, I got this, but just depends on your relationship with people. But not to feel awkward or upset about that, because it's not a reflection of your financial situation. If it truly was, then you shouldn't be going out, and you can have that conversation. So saying like, hey, like, is it okay if we just do something inside? I'm actually trying to save up for something and don't really want to go out. So you don't have to think people are afraid, and the awkwardness comes from like, I don't want them to think I'm poor. You're not. You just have different financial goals, and it might be that you don't want to go out. And then when you're going out, if you feel more comfortable, just have that conversation ahead. Like, are you comfortable splitting this? Just let me know before I order. And that can be a good way to navigate the conversation. Just like, hey, before we order, I just wanted to know, like, in terms of a date, it might feel weird. I think that there is a majority of women, just by hearing it, that are like, the man has to pay. And I just think that that's BS. Not that you have to be a strong, independent woman and pay every time, but you shouldn't expect that of people. If they're the ones who invited you, sure, it's probably a different expectation, not because it's man or female, but that person invited you. So just have a conversation about it. And maybe in the moment, it's kind of hard. The check comes and you're like, oh God, I hate this part. If you want to have a conversation about it after, like, hey, I had such a great time. Hey, next time, would you be willing to host? Next time, would you be willing to pick a place and host? And that way you can balance out the scales a little.
Yeah, or if like you've got a date or something coming, you can, again, put aside a little bit of money in that envelope or that fund, just so if you do have to pay for the whole meal or however you want to navigate that, you have that security.
Yeah.
Love that. Okay, next. I want to ask for a raise, but I'm scared they'll say no, and then I'll feel disappointed, so I haven't even asked yet.
Yeah. So, spoiler, the worst that could happen is they'll say no, and it doesn't matter. You're not going to get fired for asking for a raise. And if you do, that can be cause to go back and sue them and get more money. That is not legal advice. But I mean, definitely that comes, I think, back to self-worth and confidence, that fear of rejection, that fear of being told no. And I would say that feeling confident while hearing no takes practice. So you just have to kind of go out there and do it. I know it sounds like very basic and scary advice, but the more you do it, the more you get comfortable. I have been told no before. I have been told yes before, but now the no's just kind of, slip off. I'm like, great. All right. Is there something I could have learned from that? Maybe. If not, was it personal for them? Okay. But also, while you're preparing yourself for that conversation and to be more confident as it relates to the workspace, I always recommend that people write down their wins every day. So even if it's like a major project you helped in, have a document of all your wins, things you can quantify. Depending on your industry, maybe there's results you can tie to your position. Like, I have helped do XYZ. And then when that conversation comes about asking for a raise, pick your top 5 milestones that you've made for the company and use that in the conversation. So even if they say no, you are coming from a place of confidence. You're coming from a place of, like, I've got evidence. I've got the receipts on why I'm amazing. And if they say no, then that means they don't value you and your time. And that's something to take back and say, it's not you, it's them. They don't value you. You value you because you're asking for a raise. So congrats. Like, you are asking for yourself, for your worth. But if you can also at that point make the decision, like, am I bothered that they don't value me? Is it time for me to go somewhere else that will? Or maybe what they said, there is a couple things in there I can work on. I love working here and I think they value me and they want me to go to the next step. I'm going to go back and work on that and have this conversation again later. So keep writing down everything while you're working, because it's so much easier. I think it's harder in the moment to be like, so why am I deserving of a raise? But if you can just go back to one document and pick, it's great.
I mean, there's so much I want to say about that. But yeah, I'm always putting myself out there, because I always say the worst that can happen is they say no, but at least I tried, so I don't have that regret.
Exactly.
So that's what's motivating me. So find what you need to motivate you. So if it's when you're feeling down, having a spreadsheet of all the things, your wins, your accomplishments, if that's going to help you ask somebody out or ask for a raise or put yourself on camera, which we all should. You gotta just try different things to get yourself out there.
Exactly.
All right, here we go. My friends and family speak poorly about money, so it's hard to stay positive. What should I do? That's hard because it's who you're around.
Yeah. My personality is like, then you need new friends, but I know it's not that easy. I mean, my family speaks poorly about money all the time. And I think you have to create boundaries in your life, and not just with money, but in relationships and in yourself. I actually have created some boundaries with friends who not only speak negatively about money, but just make very poor financial decisions. And being around someone like me, I know it can be difficult to be like, oh, well, you have it all together. And I try not to even really talk to her that much about money, because I don't want her to feel bad about that. And we've created this boundary where we just don't really talk that much about money until she feels called to ask me for advice. So I don't want to put her down, and she doesn't want to kind of kill my vibe. So we just don't talk about money. And we've had that conversation about building a boundary. It doesn't have to be awkward. So you don't have to be like, never talk about money around me. Ugh, like, it's more about, hey, if you come from a place of like, this is going to help me a lot and help you. So like, I'm working on my money beliefs right now, and I want to work on that on my own. So if we could just not really talk about the money conversation until I feel good about it, that would help me a lot. And I think it would help you, because now you can go back and reflect on it on your own. So just kind of having a very honest conversation about boundaries will be really great. And then continuing to do the work. And then that's also kind of like a clue for yourself. Are my financial limiting beliefs, or is my money mindset affected by these people who are speaking negatively? So it's a win for you to have that context, and then just be honest and create boundaries.
Absolutely. In the beginning, when I started my journey, I kind of turned it into a game. So maybe if I was around people who were negative about money, instead of removing myself or setting boundaries, I more have turned it into, when can I recognize when this is happening? When they're saying. So I'm like, oh, she said that. That's not how I believe. Okay. Oh, that's come up. And maybe it's not a huge step, but it's
Yeah,
awareness that you're recognizing it, and now you can take the next step after that. So that was kind of
exactly.
exciting when I realized that. And thank you,
It's like
Hattie,
market
for
research.
yeah, uh, absolutely. All right. Okay, I'm always altering my prices so I don't lose business. I'm just starting out, but I feel drained. Better to make some money than none, right?
I'm like, see, you feel drained. You answered it for yourself. The worst thing that could happen to you is you price yourself in a way where you start to feel regret for giving someone that price. You start to resent. It's almost like if you're giving yourself Sunday scaries, then you are not doing something correctly for yourself. So I would say it is really hard to say no, especially because it's money, right? But
And
scarcity
when you're
mindset,
starting out
yeah,
too,
when you're
right? It's
starting
like,
out, scarcity mindset is like, take whatever comes your way. Abundance mindset is like, I'm so thankful for the one opportunity that I do have. So really fulfilling, going back to abundance mindset, but reminding yourself of the gratitude that you're able to do what you love and being on your own, and that you are on your own timeline. So if today you're making this amount of money, just start thinking ahead and be grateful for the day where you're going to be making 10 times that. And if you do want to lower your prices in the beginning by way of building a portfolio or to build practice, add that in as compensation mentally, right? So like, maybe I'm getting paid half of what I really wanted to for this project, but wow, the practice and the portfolio is going to be really great. And while you're working, remind yourself like, that case study I'm going to make, woo, like it's going to be great. So you just have to add a different level of compensation for yourself that maybe isn't cash as well. But the other side of that is, of course, you can't price yourself to a place where you're resenting. And if someone is asking you for a discount, you can't be eager to say yes just because, all right, well, if that means I'm going to close this deal, then I guess I have to. You have to work with people who value you and who value your money. It's really scary. And I'm saying this like knowing it's really scary to price yourself high. I've had my own business for, in terms of like monetizing content, for more than 3 years. In the beginning, I was kind of like, I'm so happy to be here, like whatever. And it took me a long time to price myself. In my coaching practice, I was like, I just want to help people. And that made me price myself lower. But then those feelings of resentment come in, and you're like waking up on a Monday, doing your own thing and working for yourself. And you're like, ugh, like, I hate waking up in the morning. That's not okay. So I realized like, what would make me happy? And when you're pricing yourself, there's a ton of formulas you can look up on how to figure out your hourly rate, reverse engineer what you want to be making in a year. But it's also a gut feeling. It's like, is that number going to make me happy? When I see them pay me, is it going to make me happy? When I get on the phone with them, am I going to be happy? Because I know I'm valued by that person. And I know
are
that
you
person.
avoiding emails, right?
Right. You're like, I'm not
That's a
going to check
sign.
anything. So start to look for those signs of resentment, of fear in your own work. And then try to really work on that. Again, have grace with yourself, because it's really hard to look at yourself and be like, damn, like I don't really value myself that much. It's really hard. But knowing and being aware to it is the first step. And then you work on it over time.
Yeah, I like that. And I've recently been looking into like what financial goal you want, working backwards, because before I was just like manifesting, oh, I want $1 million by the end of the year, but I never actually broke it down.
Yeah.
And there's just so many layers to it. All right, let's keep going with the questions. I feel like I can never get ahead because I'm a one-woman show, but I can't afford to hire a team. Help. It
Ooh.
also upsets me to see others achieve when I'm struggling.
Yeah. Well, I have a technical answer for that. You can outsource outside of the United States, and it's usually cheaper. So for example, virtual assistants, they're all over the world and they speak English. So you're not limited by whatever their home country is, but because of their different financial circumstances, their prices are probably not the same as a market value of someone in the US. A virtual assistant in the US might charge you $20 an hour. A virtual assistant, for example, in Latin America, the average right now is about $8 or $7 an hour for like a really great virtual assistant. So you can try outsourcing in different countries. What I use is Fiverr is a place where you can find different types of freelancers for different things you're working on. And I say virtual assistant in a general term. They all work on different types of industries and things and help you do stuff. But the other piece to that is, yes, like you're saying, you want a team. So maybe it's before you're able to hire, just thinking about rejiggering the systems and operations you have to work for you, to work more efficiently for you. What are the things in your schedule that you can drop as a business owner? What's something that's just not serving you and you can stop doing? By not serving you, it's you hate it, or it's not bringing you income. Even if it means it's not have to be something that's like proactively bringing you income, but is that helping you? Is that helping your business grow? No, then drop it and just start clearing yourself of systems and scheduling and things that don't work for you. But yeah, then outsourcing, if you really truly are like, no, I need to outsource this, try some of these other platforms to potentially go outside of your own market.
Yeah, I definitely have used Fiverr in the past. There's also a place called Upwork. I haven't used them, but I've heard a lot of things about them as well. All right, I'm going to find some more questions. Okay, let's pick this one. How do you get over not believing you can charge prices that others are?
Ooh, okay. So you shouldn't be looking at what others are charging. That's a big a rule for entrepreneurship right now, because then you are comparing yourself to their story and to their journey. That is both in, I don't want you to price yourself. Again, just like using someone else as a benchmark is not great. I know there's industry standards for a lot of things, but the industry standards shouldn't be defined by people. It's defined by processes. For example, in business coaching, when you're launching a high ticket course, there are industry standards, but it's not because someone else did them. It's just because of the results people are getting and what they should be paying to get different types of results. So long-winded answer to say, don't compare yourself to others. But also, again, remember that you are on your own timeline as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. No matter what industry you're in, you have a different story, you have different expertise, you have something different to offer. So just give yourself grace with that. I'm also really big on not offering discounts and just adding services. So when you're, so when you're pricing yourself, stick to your gut. If you're like, no, I want to be charging this amount of money, but then start to add some things that would be easy for you to achieve. For example, when I first started one-on-one coaching, I really wanted to stick to the hourly rate that I felt comfortable with. But I knew that that's kind of a lot to say, like, you're going to get on the phone with me for an hour and get this much money. So something that I used to offer, and I still do for some clients, is having marketing experience. I would do marketing document reviews. So if they send me anything throughout, up to 3 documents in 1 week, by Monday, I'm giving them feedback on the documents. Maybe it's a marketing brand messaging that they want me to just give feedback on. So I'm not just going on the phone with you, I'm giving you like reviews, a review cycle. And that was a big selling point for people. And they were like, oh my God, it's amazing. Like I'm in, sign me up, 10 sessions. And I'm like, what? So you just have to kind of add services that might be easy for you to do. And by easy, I mean enjoyable, because obviously I'm spending hours doing this, but it's enjoyable for me.
It's funny to hear all that, because it's similar to my offering in the sense that I have the one-on-one call and then I do a video audit. So if you've gone on a live before, or you've put yourself out on YouTube or any capacity before the call, you send that to me. I review it. We talk about it. And then if you don't have that, I can give you a prompt and you can film something and then I can review it. So it's kind of, I think we're vibing here.
Yeah. Just add on to the service, but don't reduce your price.
All right, next question. What platform do you recommend for investing?
Yeah. So Ellevest, the one that I mentioned earlier, they are ELLEVEST.
Okay.
Like the magazine.
I saw someone ask earlier.
Yes, Ellevest. And Ellevest is their wealth managers, so you don't actively invest yourself. So the way I like to describe investing is there's like 3 routes. One, a wealth manager, so someone's just like doing your whole portfolio for you. There's the robo-advisor, which is something like you fill out a survey and then they recommend things for you. So it's kind of guided, but they kind of help you. And then there's totally DIY. Ellevest is in the middle of someone managing it for you and that robo-advisor that you kind of just like pick. based on a survey. So it's good for someone who wants to have a little bit of say, but doesn't really care to like learn about it, which is fine as well. And so you can't really like pick stocks with them, but that's great for something like retirement, where like you probably don't want to be stock working with your retirement. You just kind of want it to grow and live. Yeah. So I do that for retirement. Then I personally use Merrill Lynch's Merrill Edge, and that's their trading platform for where you can do it yourself. They also provide a robo-advisor, so it's kind of like in between the DIY and do it with you almost. And with a program like that, what I love is Merrill Lynch is obviously very well known. They have a lot of education and experience. So when you're learning how to invest yourself, they provide a lot of educational resources about the fund. Hello.
I was waiting for that appearance.
He's like, hello. And they have a great app and everything. So I use that for just, so saying if you are someone who wants to DIY your stocks, then you want to be looking for a brokerage account. So like a brokerage account, that's the type of account that lets you go in and invest wherever you want, find a stock, you're in the market essentially. So just be looking for a service or an app that helps you do that. A lot of people also love Acorns. Acorns can provide a really fun way for you to invest based off of, I think it's like your change. So it's like if you spent 97 cents on something, the 3 cents can be invested for you. Some people find cool. That. Yeah, so it's kind of passive, but some people enjoy that. And the other one that I've heard people have good experiences with is Robinhood. And Robinhood is another one where you can kind of do it yourself or someone can help you out a little bit. But yeah, those would be the top. I mentioned 4 apps, but those are kind of the ones I've played around with.
And if you guys have no idea what she's talking about, it's probably time to start researching that a little more, because I know I have not heard of those, and I was like, ooh.
Well, actually, NerdWallet is the place where I've learned a lot about this. So NerdWallet, not a platform to invest, but a platform to learn.
Amazing, amazing. And tell us, first of all, congratulations. You just launched a course.
Yes.
Tell us about it briefly, because I know we're going to get cut off in 5 minutes, and I do want to save this live. So tell us about it and tell us where people can find you.
Yes, so I just launched Influence to Impact, and I've been working in influencer marketing for a long time. I've been in the agency world for 8 years now, and on my own, I coach influencers. So this program is a 12-week mastermind, and I'm helping people who have interest in building a business out of their influence. And you don't have to be a big influencer. In fact, I prefer the people who have kind of only been trying it out for a few years. So we're teaching you how to monetize your social media. We're teaching you how to set the foundations for your business and doing a lot of brand work. So I'm super excited about that. I have an application live on my page, so you can just click on my handle and all the information is there.
Amazing. And in the description box, I'll be sure to put her handle. Everything will be really easy access, and I am so proud of you. I wish you the best of luck. Thank you for your time, your energy, your wisdom here with your mindset. I'm so grateful, and I hope we can do a part 2 one day.
Yes.
Down the line. And if I didn't answer your question, guys, just put it in the comment box, and hopefully we can get back to you. I tried to get to as many as possible. I think we tackled a lot in an hour, and I feel good about it. I feel good.
Same.
Thank you so much, Lisette. Thank you guys for watching, and we will see you soon. Thank you for tuning in till the end. If you have any further questions, you know I'm here for you. I'll meet you down in the comment box below, or you can find me on Instagram and we can connect there further.